Forgot I have to push those buttons now. Pardon me. Still getting used to this new setup. Let's try that again. Hello everybody, welcome to tonight's Sublime Text Live. Sorry for the slightly late start here. I was doing a little bit of tech stuff, and just as I was getting ready to start the stream, the pup, who has now wandered away, was ailing a wee bit. I think he may have eaten a treat a little too quickly, so we had to commiserate and make sure that everything was okay with him. But we are here now. We're getting ready to jump in. How is everybody doing? My goodness, how long has this been open? Welcome to this week's Hello Dwayne. Hello NKTP. Welcome. I forgot to do a thing there, and now we have done that thing. So, what should we do in this evening's stream? Well, I had a plan for one of those things I've been planning on doing for a while, which is to take the, what do we call that thing? The Scratch Files plugin that I created a long time ago. Take a look at it, see what we can refresh, what we can do to turn it into a complete and full package in its own right, and get that ready to go. Because one of the videos that I wanted to do for a while on the channel is a video on how to add a package to package control. And I think the best way to describe something like that is to actually do it. Hello Ashwin. The genesis for choosing that particular package for that actually came from Ashwin, if I remember correctly, who's, because he uses the Scratch Files plugin all the time. I was sort of floating the idea that I need to come up with some sort of package idea and then create said package so that we could actually create it and throw it into package control. And Ashwin said, why not use the Scratch Files plugin? Something to that effect anyway. And I agree, that's actually a pretty cool idea. I use that thing all the time. It was something that I originally created to help people that were having problems in the Sublime forum and on Stack Overflow. If they provide us a small little sample of code, the easy way to test something like that out is to have a file that has the appropriate syntax associated with it. And while you can certainly create a tab and then change the syntax, it leaves you a tab that you have to remember to close, and it's going to ask you if you want to save it at the end. So I came up with the idea of the Scratch Files plugin, which allows you to create a Scratch buffer based on any of the syntaxes available throughout the whole of all of the packages, and it creates a tab that is a Scratch buffer. If you want to, you can save it and persist it and make it a real file, or alternatively you can just close it and you're done. But of course, apart from that, if there's any questions that anybody has but anything Sublime Text related, feel free to ask those as well. And I got a question earlier today about changing the text color in the Sublime Text window caption, and I think we covered that in the video on customizing the menu, customizing your theme to support the hamburger menu or turn it off if you don't want it and you're using a third-party theme. I think that was covered there. I haven't had a chance to look though. Without further ado though, I think you can press a button and jump on in. So here we are. Now, the scratch buffer item is actually stashed. One of these tabs has got to be this thing. There we go. I'm pretty sure it's in here. Often, when helping people out with problems they may be having, it's required to come up with a code sample or simply play around with sample text. So we have all of the stuff here. We can see it's very simplistic in what it does. Hello, Ben, and welcome. Welcome to the stream. We're just thinking about taking this very simple two-file thing and turning it into a Sublime Text package for the purposes of adding it to package control. Because Ashwin has mentioned, that he finds it very useful. I find it useful. I have one of those weird situations. You can see it's actually been 4 years since we originally created this thing. We probably created it in a stream, if I had to guess. I'm not entirely sure. But there are certain customizations for Sublime wherein I would say that doesn't need to be a package. That can just be a plugin file or something. There are, often someone will be like, hey, I modified the context menu to have an extra item. I'd like to turn this into a package. And I would say, why would you make that a package? You could just add that to your user package if you wanted something like that. So I'd love to be able to come up with perhaps a little more in this than what is here, because this really is very simplistic. As we can see, there's not a lot going on here. I should probably verify how close this is to the version that I'm actually running. But I do think that it would be a useful thing to have. Basically what it does is this. You can scratch buffer, in this particular case, prompt for syntax. It's going to find all of the syntaxes that are available everywhere, allowing you to search for them. And it tells you what package it's from and what the name of the file actually is. So say we wanted something Python related, we can dial into that, and now we have a scratch buffer with Python code in it. This is distinct from being able to just create a new tab and say syntax Python, in that while that seems to be the same, if I close this, it asks me if I want to persist it. Whereas if you were just doing something with a small little scratch bit of stuff, you probably don't want to persist that. If you wanted to, you can. As we'll see, the plugin is actually smart enough to notice when the file is saved and turn off various states, I believe. At least that's how I remember that working. Anyway, I think I needed that exactly one time. It's something I created while helping people with Sublime and their problems therein, and I find it incredibly useful. I believe there's also some other items in here as well. The command file that it comes with has lists of some of the more common syntaxes you might want to do something with. So you could say scratch buffer for Markdown, or a scratch buffer for JavaScript, or JSON if you wanted, or HTML. I tend to fall into the habit of prompt for syntax because we can just easily look it up here. I was thinking that. I can't remember. Does it tell you about hidden syntaxes? Because if not, I'm not sure that I want to do something like that. But I think we could make it a lot better in general. That's something I'm sort of on the fence on. But maybe it actually can do that, and I'm just remembering incorrectly or something. I would have to look. Oh, you're back. How you feeling? All better? Okay. Yeah. We had a little bit of a technical hiccup as the stream was starting because someone wasn't feeling well because he ate too many treats too fast. But I think he's okay now. Your tail all standy up? Yeah? Okay, you go to sleep then, buddy. And we'll get rolling on an actual project here. And remember, if you have any questions about Sublime or anything we're doing here, you feel free to drop those into the chat. We are also link friendly here. However, YouTube is not. Excelente. In which case, yeah, we can make this a lot cooler than it is right now. I had this recollection that you couldn't look something, or maybe I'm thinking of looking it up based on the type of a file or something. It's been a while since I looked at it too. I think it wasn't even officially part of the a build at the point at which I looked at, or part of a stable build, I should say. Cookie dust. Here's what we're going to do. My wife took part in a cookie sharing action. Hello, Magic Circle. At work today, where her and a bunch of her co-workers decided that what they were going to do is bake some cookies, and then everybody gives everybody else 6 cookies, which netted us a ton of cookies. Let's see. We'll make her a scratch buffer package. Well, VI the Python version. And am I... Oh, you jerk. Am I using VI inside of a terminal, inside of Sublime? Yes. Yes, I am. We also want to copy from the local source scratch. That one. Scratch files. Boop. Into here. And then open that up. I think I picked the right name for that. Yep. Cool. We want to make sure that this package runs in the Python 3.8 plugin. Pardon me. How's everybody's week going so far? Was very Monday-ish. We have ourselves a little README that'll probably need to be tweaked, and the source of our plugin. Now this particular version is actually something that will work for Sublime Text 3 as well as Sublime Text 4. It actually has the ability to, pardon me, I feel like I have a hiccup coming. No? All right, I don't. It has the ability to fall back. So when we do scratch buffer, what we're getting is a list input handler from inside of the command palette directly here, right? Compare as we dare to here. In Sublime Text 3, if we do prompt for syntax, oh, sorry, we're going to get the same thing. You need to be running an older version of Sublime Text 3. Pardon me. We require a little bit of a different action. You have to be using at least that build. So, I guess, just to verify, cd local source Sublime Text. Oops. Local Sublime Text 3100. Let's say. No. Oh, why you gotta do that, dude? Oh, right. I forgot the name changed. Say we ran that version instead. And you're going to be all mad about it. But if we prompt for syntax in this one, which clearly has some issues. Wow, man. Oh, you know what? I think we need a new window. What did I do to this one? Oh, I bet you I have an incompatible theme. Well, in any case, I guess we can't show that super easily here. Normally, those builds would be a portable build if I wanted to swap back to them. Suffice it to say, the magic of this handler base is that the syntax list input handler subclasses list input handler if it's a suitable version. Otherwise, it just subclasses the object class instead. And the code for handling stuff later on will use a quick panel if it needs to. But that's not something that we need to do if we're going to support only, let's say, Sublime Text 4. So what we actually need to do is, and I'm not even sure that this is, you would go to the wrong window, wouldn't you? There we go. The syntax class was added in build 4081. And what's the method called that looks it up? List syntaxes is what we're looking for, which is going to provide an array of those. It's going to need to at least be build 4081 to be able to run this code, which is all of Sublime Text 4 stable releases, I'm pretty sure. The first builds of Sublime Text 4 that were available in the Discord were 4050, and it was in semi-private beta for a year before we got to the part where we're here now. So build 4081 is what we're gonna want to be able to do this, and that bit is there. So we say that is the minimum version that we actually want. We can leave that there for the time being. Oh, actually, what's it called again? It's find syntax. Oh, it's not actually in the index yet. Oh, we gotta work on that. We gotta work on that, man. There we go. 4081. So we actually do have that one in here. There's some of the documentation needs to be put in here. We're probably going to be doing that in upcoming streams. It's going to provide a list of all available syntaxes, right? So sublime.list syntaxes is going to give us a list of all of them. The actual syntax definition itself, what the name is, I'm assuming whether or not it's hidden in the top level scope. The actual syntax class itself isn't listed in here. Yeah. Excelente. So that'll totally be helpful for what it is we're trying to do here. So let's see. We need to temporarily disable the version of this that is in my user package, because now there's going to be two of them. That is exactly what we're getting ready to do right now, Terracin. Where the idea is we're gonna fix up this package, this plugin really, and turn it into a package, so that I can create a video on adding something to package control, and this is going to be the candidate package. So we're going to be able to see with this exact thing, this is the actual process of how this thing goes. But first, I have to have a package to be able to demonstrate it with, if you will. Or put another way, there are various steps that you have to take, and I want to show all of them up to and including creating the pull request, but I don't want to make the people that donate their time validating and checking packages in the Sublime Text packages repo get mad at me and want to hit me with a sack of doorknobs by submitting a package and then deleting it out of hand. I don't think that's going to be kosher. So definitely coming. We need to go to... you joined at exactly the perfect time. And I think if you join my Discord, we talked about this at some point in the past, all of the various steps that we want to hit in this. I'm assuming this video is probably going to be, when it happens, a little bit longer than the ones that have been happening recently. Because I don't want to short anybody on the important details of making sure your package is good, making sure there's not a duplicate, running the appropriate checks before you submit to try to catch any problems that the people that add packages that accept your package into package controller are going to check these things anyway, and it can take a while for them to do it because you have to wait. They're volunteering their time of their own volition to do package checks and to do merges. So you want to try to have everything that you can have done and checked and ready to go to really streamline and take as little time as possible. So I don't want to skimp on that video either. But it is also a very special case sort of situation. Going to the user package. Let's say we move the scratch buffer to scratchbuffer.py.disabled. That ought to be enough, you would think. Command is still present. Here, we'll just do this. When all else fails, quit it out. Oh, actually, it'll still work, won't it? Because the command is still available, right? Nah, my bad. We need to... These items that I added to my... There we go. That'll do her. Only the developers know about that. The general advice is when it's ready. It's going to need to be, clearly, well, actually, what version are we in right now? This is 41. Maybe it's already here. That's the wrong one. Oh, sorry. The answer to how long before version 41.27 is released is a few days ago. That's the build that's out right now. Oh, can you point at your, oh, well. If you can say the name of your package or the PR number, we can take a look right now and see. Maybe we can provide some hints as to what you might want to do there. We are link friendly here in the chat. However, YouTube is not link friendly, and any links you try to put in the chat, it just immediately deletes without even telling me that it's there. So unfortunately, if you want to share a link with me, you can. You have to just join the Discord and send me a message there and then tell me here that you did it, or you can DM me on the forum or on Twitter. The important thing is if there's a stream going on, you have to tell me in the chat that you did it. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to see. And then I can find the link and share the link. Let's say that we started by going to GitHub and looking for the package controls. Package control channel, because if you have a package in here, it's going to be one of these 36 open pull requests. That means you're running a stable version. There are two channels of builds that happen in Sublime Text: the stable builds and the development builds. Each one of them has distinct version numbers. Stable only updates to stable. Development only updates to development. So right now you're on the stable build. I'm running the development build that came right after that, which just came out a few days ago. That's fixing a few things and maybe also potentially causing problems. There may be another build in that series before it jumps over to the stable channel and you get those fixes. So in that case, when will the stuff that I'm using in my build right now be available to you? That's hard to say. It depends on testing, basically. If you'd like to run a development build, you can, as long as you have a license. You need a license. It's one of the perks of having a license is being able to run a development build. You can download it and install it separately from your stable build if you like. I personally have just always used whatever the latest build is, whether it's stable or development or not, and I can count on one hand in 5 years, 7 years, how many times I've been required to roll back a version because there was something that was bad about it. I have very good luck in that particular regard. Swoop. I will take a look. Add competitive programming package. Let's see. That's 8444. Is that going to find it for me? That one. Let's see what they said. I'm the package author? Yes. I've read the docs. I have tagged a release with a semver. My package repo has a description and a README. Okay. So, in those cases where you don't comply with the recommendations, can you explain why? For example, why do you add key bindings and sidebar menu items? Okay. In competitive programming, speed is an important factor, and that's why it's very important for the user to have context menu entries and key bindings in order to do the task faster. Let's see. We'll be able, okay, is it these, things here, these checks that were not successful, that, yeah, that are the thing that you're curious about here? Because otherwise it seems like those ones almost seem like something wrong with the automated review process, realistically. Hey, glad to help, Raphael. Yeah, I would generally say that if you prefer only rock solid stable stuff, then you want the stable builds. If you're willing to be on the bleeding edge, and which comes with it the caveat that you could potentially have a problem. Doesn't happen very frequently, but it is possible. It's always recoverable, so there's that. And you also get to be on the bleeding edge of testing new stuff to see, to provide feedback. If that's the sort of thing that interests you, then you can run dev builds. But if you'd really just have stable builds, then definitely stay on stable. And you can trust the Sublime Text release mechanism to make sure that you only get releases of the appropriate type. It's also worth pointing out that when builds are stable, then new development builds add new features on top. When everything is tested in that series of dev builds and features are stable, a new stable build is created that bumps the version number one higher than the latest dev build, and then the process goes again. So you don't see the development build, a stable build, and then another development build right away unless there's more changes. It's always the most recent version you have is what the update mechanism will find for you. Yeah, regarding these particular items in here, the idea for something like this is that you should eschew, where possible, actually, let's see. What we actually want to look at is thus. So your particular repository will have, this is where it's coming from, that's the name, all versions of Sublime across all platforms, which is good to go. The repository for yours. Now, why do you have a no Sublime package file in here? Would be a question that I have. Are there files in here that need to be available to external tools? Because it looks like these are all files that Sublime would use. Which would seem to indicate that you don't need a no Sublime package entry in here. Unless it's going to try to put something into its package directory at runtime, which is entirely possible, of course. Seems to just run a server. Yeah, that's a good call as well. Why are those... The situation that might make the system unhappy is this file. If you make a file named default.sublimeKeyMap, first of all, that's going to apply to all platforms, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So you have to make sure that are these keys valid across all of those particular platforms. So there's that. Also, these key bindings are just always active all the time. Generally, what one would recommend is that if you create your own key bindings for your package, which is entirely doable, they should either not conflict with anything or, even better, not be available by default. You would add them in a file and then provide a menu entry that would allow someone to put them in place, or they would have a context on them that stops them from being active all the time. Indeed, yeah, that's what that file is for, but your package doesn't contain any of those. Your package contains a settings file for Linux, a settings file for Mac OS, a settings file for Windows, a context menu, commands for the command palette, a key map, a license, a main menu, a sidebar menu, and a plugin. None of these things are a shared library or executable, so you don't actually need the no Sublime package item in here. Hey, Adepta Potentia, how you doing? What this file does specifically is ensures that when you install a package, that it always creates a directory and puts it in there. Say, for example, like this URL downloader. This is an example of a plugin that was a package that was installed that way, but it would make sure that it goes here, as opposed to being bundled up as an installed Sublime package file, which is generally preferable because it makes it easier for people to tweak your package and it makes it easier to upgrade and downgrade. The only reason why you would want to have a folder directly in here for a package that you're installing with package control is because you're putting some sort of system-dependent executable, like a program you're going to run, or a script file that something external to Sublime needs to access, or a library that a tool that you're packing needs. Something that needs to be available on the file system in a way that it won't be if it's packed as a Sublime package file. But your package doesn't have any of that. So that's one thing. I don't know if these are any of the problems that they're actually calling out in your actual pull request here. If you can provide, all else being equal, if you can provide rational reasons for why your package is doing something a certain way, they're not gonna, I wouldn't think that they're gonna block it from going. It's just to try to make sure that things are as good as possible for the community going forward. It looks like your automated, whatever these particular issues are, is related to the job and not necessarily to your thing per se. So I would assume that that's something that they need to worry about and not something that you need to worry about. So there's that. So yeah, I would say based on what I'm seeing here, that's not something that you actively need. Indeed. As Ashwin pointed out, this file would be some settings that are loaded if a person is on Linux. And this one is settings that would be loaded if a person was on Mac OS. And these ones are settings that would be loaded if a person is on Windows. But if all three of these are identical, there's no need to have three of them. You could just have one that's just named competitive programming parser.sublime settings, and everything else will still work the same way. It's not necessarily bad to do that. If there's something about these that needs to be distinct, you can have both. You could have one called competitive programming parser.sublime settings that has the core settings, and then a Windows version just to override a setting that is Windows specific. But if they're always all the same, then it's not bad, but it's also not a thing that's actually needed either. Sublime commands are, that's fine. You want to make sure that your menu items or your command palette entries allow people to see where they're coming from, and you got that, so that's good. You got the preferences to be able to open up the preferences file. If you were to modify, you would think so, but not really, because you'll note if I do package settings for override audit, how does the alphabet work again? And pick settings. This file over here is override audit.sublime settings. This is override audit.sublime settings. These are the ones that ship with the package, and these are mine. It just so happens that because I developed this package, they're very similar. So you don't need to have platform specific settings by any stretch of the imagination. It's something you can do. Sublime settings themselves do that, right? Remember, if you do preferences settings, this file is named preferences settings, this one's named preferences settings, and there are platform specific ones. You have to use view package file to view them, and then you would look at, say, OS X default settings to see on Mac OS, these specific settings have different values than here. But whether you're on Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, just using that one name will always do what you want. Hey, cool. Thank you. I've been doing well. The problem with, well, learner innovator. I'm sorry to say I don't, but I do see a lot of people coming through all my streams from here and on Twitch. So I may be, if you say where you're from, I bet you if you had talked before, I would totally be able to pull that. Ooh. You want me to public speak? What makes you think I'm good at that? So let's see. So you're saying that... Whoops, I went too far, didn't I? I should not have done that. I wanted that one, pardon me. What you can do in that case... Which one of these settings is distinct? because these files all look identical. "600 people on Discord. Woof." What sort of talk are you interested in? The folder name where the contests will be parsed. Which one of these settings is that? The directory dictionary. You may be misconstruing how platform-specific settings work. Which topic is that? Sublime Text? Here. Let's run a little experiment here. I'm going to quit that. And we're going to go to here. And extract. Oh, actually. No, let's not do it that way. We'll do it this way. Yeah, the problem that you're probably going to run into is that the settings files don't load the way that you think they do. So here's an example. I'm going to, in our little scratch buffer package, I'm going to create a new file here. And we can call it scratch buffer.sublime settings, like this. And we can say, I don't know, like default true. So if that settings file loads, we know that's happening, right? So sublime.load settings. And say we want to load scratch buffer.sublime settings. And we say s.get default. So that settings file is being loaded, right? If there was another file loaded here named scratch buffer linux.sublime settings, and this one said Linux true, then if we were to get Linux, that's weird. It doesn't seem to want to load that particular thing. Maybe if we restart. Is that the default? Yeah. Is it Linux? Yes. All right. So cool. This package has that. So what your package here has is just OS X, Windows, and Linux versions, right? If you were to do something like this, I'm going to go into my user package, and I'm going to touch scratch buffer.sublime settings. Yeah, I know. Oh, I guess we could just do it over in this particular pane. Pardon me. That split's not going to work that well. So, if I said default false here, then if we ask this for its default, it says false, because this file was actually loaded, right? However, if we were to touch scratch buffer Linux, that Sublime settings, like that, I guess we probably need to make that a little bit smarter, huh? Oh, for freak's sake, bro. Notice it didn't get mad about that file not being a valid settings option. You jerk. Hang on. I didn't put a thing in the correct spot. Okay. Now, if we subble scratch buffer linux.sublime settings, here is the, yeesh, there's too many of these files open. Here's the Linux version of that. Linux false. Is that the default? No. Is it Linux? Yes. So you can send me a message on my Discord with times and details and the like. What if I added a new key here? Will this load? No. What if I quit and restart Sublime? Wait for all to load. Let's load the settings file. Is special there? No. Is it Linux? Yes. Is the default there? No. What this tells you is that files, this is a very long demonstration way of saying that files with the platform name in your user package aren't loaded. So, anytime that the user configures something, the file in their user package is always going to be the one that doesn't have platform-specific stuff in it. Which means that this file, if it's going to be exactly identical for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, is just making the file be there for 3 times for no good reason, because it could just as easily be one file. The only time you want to do something like this is when there is a default setting that you're setting in your settings. Overload that 5 times fast. That will need to be changed on a per platform basis. Otherwise, the settings that you have here are all exactly identical, and they're always going to be identical for the user as well. So it's not anything that hurts anything, but it does sort of not do what you think it's probably going to do. So that may be a reason why you don't want to do that. If you change that, make sure that you change this thing here, because this settings file wouldn't have the platform in it. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Apart from that, I don't see any obvious wrongnesses with anything. I might have to wait until after the stream. So yeah, but I don't think any of the things that we talked about here are the things that they're unhappy with. My guess would be, if they're going to be unhappy about anything, they're going to be unhappy about your key map forcing default key bindings. Other ways to do stuff like that, let's just close a bunch of files here for the time being. Yeah. It doesn't hurt anything, but it also doesn't help anything either. So the policy I tend to follow is, as developers, we're kind of lazy. So why do more work than you need to, right? One thing that I have in my package is that there are some keys here, and these are actually potentially default keys, but what my package has is a context that makes sure that these keys only apply in very specific situations that are specific to my package, which in this case means that it'll only work if you're actively looking at a file tab that this package created. The other way that you can do something like this is to have these be commented out, and then you have the menu entry that opens the file up, and you have a little comment in here that says, here are some example key bindings. If you'd like to use them, you can copy them to your user package, and then you can provide what you think the default key should be, but it's up to the person that's using your package to decide if they want the key bindings, and if they do, what keys they want them to be. Either one of those. Sometimes that even works well with this context thing here. I could also just have these be commented and say, you just apply them. That might be something that they ask about. I'm not sure. If some of the options are platform specific, then I would recommend having one settings file that sets everything that's not platform specific, and then have the platform specific ones only modify the parts of the parts of the default settings that are platform specific, so that on any given platform the defaults are the way that you want them to be. But do keep in mind that if someone uses your package on Windows and Linux, there's no way for them to easily have configurations for both platforms at the same time in the same installation of Sublime. Are you going to do it from inside one at the same time? Is it possible to set up Sublime so the window has two side-by-side panes that use different themes? Different themes as in application theme? No. Different themes as in color schemes? Yes. How you do that depends on how you actively want it to work. But different fonts would also work, yeah. It's not necessarily in this tab, this left-hand side is a 12-point font and this side is a 50-point font or something. You could do that too. You can DM me on Twitter, you can DM me on the forum, you can DM me on the Discord. Any one of those is acceptable. Do you have a particular situation, Rory, that you want to do something like this in? Is probably the better way to go for something like this. Because technically speaking, there's some text there. There's some text there. This side can have a Gigantor font, while this one, it's ODAT nerd. Whereas this one has a smaller font, or this one has Mariana as the color scheme, but this one has Monakai as the color scheme. That's also possible. What you need to dial in on is in what situations do you want these sorts of things to happen? And then Sublime can probably do it for you out of the box. And if not, maybe you need some sort of plugin to do something to help you out with it. But as we can see here, or there, I guess, entirely possible to do something like that if you want to. Yeah, there you go. Again, that I don't know if they said anything about that. I'm just sort of providing a package review, if you will, of if it was me, that's what I would do. Regarding setting this sort of thing up or more automatically than what I did there, forcing this one to have a larger font size and forcing this one to have a different color scheme. If you were to have some sort of file open, say for example, well actually, say we had a markdown file open, for example. You can say preferences, settings, syntax specific, and in here you can specify specific settings. So we could say the font size is going to be 19 and the font face is going to be source code pro medium, and the color scheme is going to be monokai.sublime color scheme, for example. And then this particular file uses a different font of a different size with a different color scheme because it's a markdown file, and that'll always happen, whereas Python files still use your default settings. If you want to do it in a more ad hoc fashion, then you need a key binding of some sort or a menu item or something that you can add that you can use to flip it, or you can just do it the way that I did it in the console here. If you're comfortable with that sort of thing, depends on how frequently you want to do it. I would recommend, if we just look back over into one of these magic, you're the one. We're looking for you. This is an example of something that you might find handy in this regard. I'm gonna plop this link here. I think this is covered in a video as well. What would it be called? Probably this one. I'm gonna guess that video is gonna go over what this actually does, and it probably even covers the thing that you're asking about there. But in short, it would allow you to create any key binding you want. I just used Super S in my example. You pick one that's good for you. Run the toggle settings ext command. You would use something like a setting of font size and have the options be, say, 13,18 or something. Or you could have this be font face and have the two fonts be something. The way this is written right now, if you wanted to change the font and the size, you'd need 2 keys, but it'll just automatically toggle between them. So you could tap a key and go from one font to the other, or from a small, medium, large back to regular size font. I think the video that I linked up there uses that very example for fonts. You can imagine the idea that if you're sometimes doing code reviews, you might want to have a very quick, easy way to pop the size up, or if you're sharing your screen on a projector or something, and then you can just go back to the other one without having to do anything. I would recommend something like that. The same thing will also work with the color scheme if you want to change that as well on the fly. The downside to any of that is you need to set up the key bindings for it, but you know, a little bit more work on the plugin, which, as you can see, is ridiculously simple in its small little 8 lines of code here. Is it could have more than one setting and cycle through all of them if you wanted to do font sizes and font names at the same time. I just didn't have a use case for that at the time. I will certainly do that. And thank you for your interest, learner innovator. Maybe we can convince all 600 of your members to join my Twitch stream and kick my viewership into the stratosphere. We're good. Okay. Now. Hey, no problem. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me, and we can refine it, including if you'd like the plugin tweaked. Plugin work, fun stuff. We're gonna. I don't need these files for the time being, so I'm just gonna get rid of those. Those were part of the demonstration. Let's see. The only thing we're using this for is for that. And I'm going to say we're not going to actually need that anymore, so who cares? Handler base is always going to be this, because we're targeting a newer version of Sublime. So we don't need that line at all. I bet you we probably don't need that either. Oh, I closed my window, didn't I? List syntaxes, pardon me. That is the thing that we're going to do for this. So wow, man. Query syntax is the one that's going to use a quick panel. We don't need that anymore. That part's just gone now. If syntax is none, that is not what we want. We're just going to do that. Oh, right. We may need a little bit more action here. Oh my goodness. What time we got? If you run this command and it doesn't have a well, actually, we don't even need that. We could just say if syntax not in args. That other bit is sort of an end run on making it compatible with Sublime Text 3, which we could still do. There's no reason why this package can't fall back. However, as a software developer, if you're supporting a package that you created or you're supporting anything that you created, you generally want to make your support life as good as is possible. So for something that's freely available, and if someone wanted this in an older version of Sublime, they could get it because the version of the plugin in the Scratch Files package works just fine in older versions of Sublime Text 3. We're going to say that this particular one requires Sublime Text 4 because that is the wave of the future. And that makes our code a lot more tight and succinct and easier to see. And it makes it easier to maintain, which eases the support burden as well. If somebody has a problem with this, we can just look at the simple code that's in here and go, no, I see what the problem is, and not try to trace through and have to ask a bunch of questions to try to figure out what's going on. Okay. That's the name of the argument it's using, which frankly doesn't even need to be there. It's mostly just there. Yeah, that part doesn't need to be there anymore. That should still, still works the way that one would expect, even with all of the stuff that we've taken out of here. That part doesn't need to be there. This is going to set the value of the syntax argument because this is named syntax list input handler. Theoretically. Oh, it's only input handler. Oh. Why did I name it that, I guess, is the question of the ages. It should be named that, and then that part doesn't need to be there anymore. Bibtex. So good. Oh, hello, who cares? I saw your question, by the way. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet. Was your comment on the video that talks about modifying the caption bar of the window in order to turn on and off the hamburger menu? Because if so, I think that's the only information that I personally have available on that. But I'm pretty sure you can use a foreground color in that particular rule in your theme to change it to whatever you like. Although it doesn't work under Linux, so I can't verify it for right now. What is this for? Don't need that. Oh, I see. I see what we did. The name of the syntax equals oh, actually, don't do that there. Do it here. The key is the name of the syntax, and the value is the syntax file. I gotta say, I wasn't a super fan of Mariana when the switch happened from Monakai either, but I've kind of grown more accustomed to it. We can do this. I don't know that it's necessarily a step in the right direction. It's got a lot more glow to it though, so we got that going on. Key, syntax name, value, that is one of the features of Sublime Text 4 color schemes. These things are also glowing, although it's kind of hard to see. That also is glowing. We could also do that. Those glow and are different colors. The trick is in your color scheme rule that targets the thing that you want to change. You can add glow as a font style. Oh, that's the wrong one. Pardon me. Cyberpunk Sublime color scheme. Those are the colors that was created by Terminal, the security engineer, and all of the rules that he provided have glow. So everything glows. It's really quite the interesting little bit of action, I will admit. I don't think it's publicly available, but if you're on the Sublime Text Discord, you can ask Terminal, and he will provide a link to it. I'm sure that there is a GitHub for it, but I'm not sure what URL it is off the top of my head. If you ask me after the stream, I could probably find it, though. Let's see. We only got rid of that. Parse is going to take a resource spec and add in something that pulls the name of the syntax out. So what we want is something like that's going to be a list, so we should Hey, no problem. Oof. Preview still wants to say there. That's not something we're actually going to need. So we're going to want to sublime.list syntaxes is going to give us all the syntaxes. So we can say for syntax in Sublime list syntaxes. Langs, the thing that used to be the name of the syntax, which is going to be syntax.name. Is going to be equal to syntax.path. It's pretty much what that thing up there is doing. But this part's a little bit nicer about it. And there's the list. Sorted. Now, previously, compare as we dare here. I'm going to put that back just temporarily. The top item here was from Sublime lib test empty name Sublime syntax, which isn't something that you actually want to use. And we were never happy about that particular thing showing up in the list. So this does make life hella better. Parse is never used anywhere, so it doesn't even need to be here no more. Goodbye. Change that to that. So when we do it, it says, well, maybe choose scratch buffer syntax. So it says that, and we can choose something in here. We can choose, say, Python. The name of the syntax, the file that it's coming from, and it's Python code. That makes that look a lot nicer. Do the syntaxes come out already sorted? Probably not, huh? Well, maybe they do. No, it's not. Oh, no, I guess it's not. Shoot. Gonna be that way, are we? Archive. Regular expression replacement. Perl B C P. Yeah, they're not sorted. Let's say we had something like that and we returned Sorting how to. Ah! Do. Okay. There we go. That'll do the same thing in 2 lines that we were previously doing in more. So instead of having all of these things doing something, we can just do it in that many. And in fact, this only appears in one place. So we could actively even do that and just make it a single line, although it is a little bit too long. I can dig it. And that is pretty much that. This is no longer needed either. Oh, right. Easy way to make one thing be 2 arguments. Because we are going to have this invoked with the full name of a syntax. Or sorry, the full resource file for a syntax. So returns the syntax file, if any, at the Unicode string path specified. That might be what we're looking for here. Oh, don't be a silly meister. Print Sublime syntax from path syntax. So when this gets invoked, say with batch file, that finds the batch file syntax, which is not hidden. Override audit, oh yeah. These particular items don't have particularly great names, so there's that. But I think we can make life a little bit better in this regard as well. In place of using that preview, which I've never been super jazzed about. You see, that one's the package report, that one's the diff, that one's the override report. All 3 of these things are hidden. We can see that right there. But regardless of that, it finds the appropriate name. So and then that just becomes name, and this no longer needs to exist. So we don't have to try to parse the YAML file, trying to figure out what the name of the thing actually is. Which makes that much, much nicer. Binary. That is indeed binary. Or scratch buffer prompt for syntax C. That's totally C. So that part's nice. Lastly, as an item, we'll take that part out. Name equals syn info if syn info is not none else. Just to protect us here, because it's entirely possible that you can invoke this with any argument you like. And if you give a syntax that's not valid, actually, what happens if we do that? Maybe we're being silly about this. Let's go back. Oh, I can't. Shoot. You. We did Sublime dot syntax from path that. It gives us that. We did that. X is none. So if record is none, then return this is an old API that's been replaced by window. Self.window.status message. Cannot create scratch buffer bad syntax. Then this can be record name. And this can be record.path. Unfortunately, that syntax name is kind of funky as far as what we're actually trying to do here. Let's go ahead and add some stuff. Whoa, hang on a second. Boop. Click some buttons. Make some noise. There we go. All right, so I'm going to change this to create scratch buffer. We're going to choose those. Now that little preview down there at the bottom of this thing is showing us the name of the syntax and then the file that it's stored in. So this one's kind of weird. Why is that coming out that way? which is the question of the day. The syntax file has a name of archive. Oh, it's because it's telling you the name of the package it's from. Right. I was thinking that. First things first, related to kind information is using a list item completion magic class whose name I forget. Because I think it should have the name of the package it comes from and the name of the resource as separate items instead of using that preview down at the bottom of the thing there. U is what we're actually interested in here. Just for the sake of being able to see this, I'm going to do that. Oh. God, Chrome, you're such a dip. All right. The value if the row is selected. So Sublime dot list input item. The string of text to match against the user's input, which is going to be what it thinks it's putting in there already as the first item. The value is going to be sin.path. So if we did just that, we should end up with the same action that we had previously. That says archive, and it is the appropriate syntax. We're going to say details, annotation, because I can never remember. We're going to say whatever the annotation is should be the name of the package that this thing is from. And what would the details be? Also the full path? Just the details would be the name of the syntax file, the other part would be the name of the package. So basically what we're doing with that right there. I've already forgotten. Details should be os.path.base name of synpath. So when we do it, oops, that's the name of the file that it's coming from, and which is that part of this preview. That annotation should be the name of the package it's coming from. And that would be the second item after the split. We may want to do this not as a comprehension, just to make this a little bit nicer. Maybe not. Nah, I don't know that I like doing that. Let's leave well enough alone. That's what we want for this bit here. So we got that as a simplistic, no longer wanting you. Which gives us more items in the list. Now, kind icons for default versus third party. In order for that to happen, starting from here, how do we work something like that out? Or, if you will, is that the most interesting information that we can put into the kind information? Might perhaps be a better way to think about it. Because one thing we could do is have like a little S in there for syntaxes that ship directly with Sublime versus not having it, or having a green S versus a red I, so you can easily see syntaxes that ship with Sublime versus syntaxes that you've installed. We could have an H in there for ones that are hidden, which would stop us from displaying the other two. The other thing is, how do you come up with a list of all of the packages that ship with Sublime? I can only think of one way to do that, and that is to look for the files in the packages directory, which is something that I've done before. I'm not against that. Is that useful to us? Override Audit can do something like that. Whoops. For example, like that. Packages shipped versus packages installed. We would basically want this information. The list of packages that ships with Sublime is static in as much as it doesn't change at runtime. Or if someone tried to do it, we could easily ignore it and then say, no one cares. In that regard, plugin loaded. Wait, what am I printing here? Probably make that a little bit nicer. Oh. That's what's doing it. Whoops. Yeah, we don't care about that. That's interesting. I used to be able to turn that on and off, and now that part doesn't work anymore. yeah, that's not going to work if the browser's not available, huh? That'll do. Whoops. Oh no, I lost my window. There it is. Return a list containing the names of the entries in the directory given by path. The list is arbitrary order and does not include the special entries, even if they're present. Path may be... So, compare as we dare is that now, question, you. At importing time, plugins may not call any API functions with the exception of this, executable paths. We don't even need this to be in a plugin loaded. That's the executable path. Nope, that ain't right. Why can I not remember how the path stuff works? Actually, we have the opportunity to use the fancy new stuff here. You. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, tell me about it. Messes with my head. But this is the first thing that I've done in a package where well, I guess not the first, but the first package where I know for sure that we're going to be running only in the new plugin host. So I'm not familiar with pathlib, but I bet you it makes our life happier. What we're really looking for is the concatenation of the drive and the anchor. No. The first element, yeah. Parent, just parent. Oh, all right. Why did I? Never mind. Haha. Take that, sneeze. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Stupid sneeze. They always come in quadruplets, don't they? Is this being used for anything? Nope. Is this being used for anything? Yeah. For now. Package it. Oh. Pathlib path for sublime dot executable path. Yeah, sweet, huh? If I can tell that they're coming, I can do it twofold. I can push this button. I'm still talking, and then it comes back when I push the button again, or I can try to push the button on the thing there, and then I had to watch over here to make sure that it actually muted because it turns red. But all things being equal, it just works, you know. Until I break it, and then I'm unhappy. Now, compare as we dare. Whoa, where'd my... Oh, I don't like that, really. I guess. Ugh. POSIX path object is not iterable. Oh, that's a shame. Vivey unhappy. Oh. Right, sorry. My bad. So that gives us... Yeah. Oh, whoops. All right, we don't need you. We just end up with a list of things that are definitely things. Let's swap this to be package path. We want just the file name without the extension. Sorry, we want base name. The final path component excluding the drive and root. Without the suffix. The final path component without its suffix. And that gives us what we want. Ship packages is going to be entry.stem if for entry in package path iter if entry.isFile and entry dot suffix is equal to dot Sublime package. I think that's going to give us what we want there. So, that doesn't compile. Oh, that still compiles. Ooh. The list of packages that ship with Sublime can be gathered by looking for the of the application install next as a sibling to the running binary. Packages that are built in. Okay, and we definitely know that that is giving us the answer that we desire. And it doesn't even need to be in plugin loaded, because executable path is now executable at all times. It doesn't require the plugin host to be set up first. So nice. That's going to give us that information. Then we're just going to very quickly think we want something like that, huh? Reddish. And as our last change for the evening, if I could find thus, list input item, pardon me. The last item is the kind. If this is awful. I mean, there we have it. That's a package report, that's a diff, that's an override report. This is why those items are disambiguated like that. You know, we want to be able to see what's actually happening there. So yeah, I mean, that looks pretty gross code-wise. We want to tighten this bit up somewhat. I don't think we necessarily need to split the path twice, you know. There wasn't just an entry for that, was there? Because I'd feel silly. No. And we want, if we wanted to be able to filter out hidden items, then we'd have to do a little bit something extra with that as well. So there's that. Let's we don't need you anymore. Here we go. Don't need semicolons everywhere. I don't think that's as useful as it could be, you know? Let's see. That's the name of the syntax. That's the path of the syntax. Whoops. The file name is that one. that. Just to make that a little bit clearer what it is it's actually doing. If we did that, make sure that I'm not going a little overboard with what it is I'm trying to pull here. That's the name of the path of this thing, so that's going to be the sin.path. So we can append a sublime.list input item. And we could control this by saying the first thing is going to be the syntax name. The second item is going to be the path. The base name of the syntax path is the stem, right? Did I remember that correctly from the thing that I just read a minute ago? Note the name. Shoot. We need to split that too. We need to say package is equal to. We don't want to split it. Nay, nay. How does one gather a list of path items? This is the thing I think that confused me before, because it was using array indexes for something. An immutable sequence providing access to the logical ancestors. Change to version 3.10. Well, poop. That's not going to help. Figures. Len p dot parents. Yeah, that doesn't really help. I don't want the logical ancestors. I want the specific directory parts. Oh, yeah, like that. Well, that's easy. Then after the path name, the next thing after that is the package, and the next thing after that is package kind shipped. If package in shipped packages, else package kind installed. Now, it looks like it's doing the right thing. Or alternatively, it's blowing up in our face here. ASP, the value is that path, the details are that. So the problem is POSIX path can't be converted to string. That's unfortunate. I guess we gotta stir it. That works a little better. All right. Maybe. That is a user installed package that is shipped with Sublime Text. Oh, all right. Nice. Sublime Text key map. Boop. That'll be nice. We get rid of this. Let's do this. Makes that a little bit nicer. All right. I think, there we go. Let's add a comment on this and then jump out of here because we are a little bit late for what it is we're trying to pull this fine evening. So we're going to say packages that are displayed in the annotated with one of the two items seen. Indicating to the user where the package comes from. And there we go. So we've tightened it up greatly, I would think. So in that regard, I think we are good to go. What we might want to do as Ashwin, let's do this. To do setting to exclude hidden syntaxes. that something we might want to do? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. Double check. That still works as well. So that's at least one thing that we can add here, along with an appropriate preferences menu item and the such. But I think we have the root basics for what we actually want to have in one of these things. Pardon me, while yeah, nope, that's cool. So I think we're gonna call it there, and we're going to jump on out of here. We will be back next Monday here as well. Every Monday, we're going to be working on stuff here. We're going to continue working on this package, maybe. We definitely want to be working on getting that video together for adding a package to package control. Ironic that we were working on that this stream and someone actually came in. We also have some work to do on HyperHelp as well. And of course, we're always here to answer your questions about Sublime Text. So we will see you in the next one. If you are so interested in watching more streaming of coding, I do stream on Twitch on Wednesdays and Fridays. This week specifically, we will also be streaming on Thursday because it's my 1-year streamiversary on Thursday for the 1-year anniversary of my very first stream on Twitch. And over there, we do JavaScript related stuff. We still answer questions. We still use Sublime Text. We still have the same kind of fun. Thanks, Magic Circle, for hanging out, and everybody that hung out this evening. We're going to jump on out of here and into the next one. I hope you all have a fantastic week. And until then, please have a sublime day.